Comic books had only really been a thing for a couple of years when the whole industry was rocked by Action Comics #1, which contained the first appearance of Superman. The Man of Steel was a sensation, and soon rival comic book companies were trying to do their own knockoff versions. Of course, the big ups at National Comics, now DC, either sued or threatened to sue them, all for stealing their idea. One of the companies that it forced to drop an imitation hero was Fawcett Comics, who had a Superman knockoff called Masterman. Now, Fawcett dropped Masterman, but then introduced Captain Marvel in 1940, who was also a Superman riff, albeit with the added twist that he transformed back and forth from a boy when he shouted the magic word, Shazam! Shazam was an acrostic that stood for Captain Marvel's powers, the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, the stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, the courage of Achilles, and the speed of Mercury. Initially, though, all of those powers just translated into the same powers as Superman, which is partially why National Comics eventually sued Fawcett and ultimately won, with Captain Marvel ceasing publication in 1952. The character was later purchased by DC and his name changed to Shazam. However, while his powers originally were just the same as Superman, they soon evolved into some strange directions, including a number of powers that Superman could only dream of having himself. Minor note, while he was known as Captain Marvel once, we're gonna call him Shazam for the purposes of this list. Before we start, make sure you follow us by clicking on the like button below the video to get more sweet content from Animated Times. And I'm Andrew Caravella. You can always find me on social, handle OnAirAndrew. Alright guys, let's go. At number 8, Immortal. Probably the most powerful ability that Shazam has is that he is literally immortal. This is not to say that it is highly difficult for him to expire, we mean that he absolutely cannot pass this mortal coil. Therefore, no matter how bad things get for him, he will find a way to get out of it and heal himself. The magical lightning that transforms him from Billy Batson into Shazam also serves to heal his body after he is injured. Even if it didn't, though, he cannot actually pass on. That leaves open the question, though, of what would happen if he was beaten so badly that he wished that he could pass on. Number 7, Omnilingual. So the wisdom of Solomon serves Shazam well when it comes to languages. He can speak literally every language on Earth. In fact, his language skills are not just confined to Earth, as he can also speak any alien dialect as well. As seen in the comics, he is even able to communicate with animals. You can't possibly have wisdom if you can't understand what everyone else is saying, right? Interestingly, his language skills also apply to dead languages as well, since he has traveled through time on a number of occasions, so it comes in handy to be able to speak the languages of the past. Number 6, lightning bolts that can be used offensively. Now, as noted, when Billy Batson says the word Shazam, a magical bolt of lightning comes from the heavens and transforms him. Initially, this was mostly used as a symbolic event. The actual lightning was not worked into the story. Over time, though, stories began to treat the magic lightning as something that Billy could use to his advantage if he timed it correctly. The most famous example of this was actually in an alternate timeline. In Kingdom Come, Superman and Shazam fought against each other, and Shazam repeatedly called down his magic lightning to hit Superman during their fight, in the hopes of weakening the Man of Steel, who is notably vulnerable to magic. At number 5, fly faster than light. So while both Superman and Shazam were unable to fly when they were introduced, it was actually Shazam who beat Superman to the skies, as he gained the ability to fly just 3 issues after he debuted, while Superman took years before it would confuse people over whether he was a bird or a plane. Still, even after he began to fly, Shazam's flying skills never reached the same levels as the last son of Krypton, who could fly so fast that he could break the time barrier. Shazam used other means of traveling through time. Eventually, though, Shazam gained the ability to fly faster than the speed of light so that he could visit the Rock of Eternity. At number 4, doesn't need to eat, drink, or sleep. Okay, as we mentioned before, the whole stamina aspect of Shazam's powers have led to some unusual questions about what exactly is Shazam. In other words, if he is mortal and he does not age, then is he a god? Is he an artificial being? Was he once human? What is his deal? It doesn't get any simpler to understand how his body works when you learn that he does not need to eat, drink, or sleep. The real answer is that we shouldn't put too much thought into a fanciful power set, but it is still rather confusing as to how his body is supposed to function without any of those things. Up next, Clairvoyance. So Shazam's clairvoyant abilities are demonstrated in a couple of different manners. One of them is tied to the wisdom of Solomon, while the other one seems to be plucked out of thin air. In the first example, his clairvoyance allows him to quickly sum up situations and figure out all of the angles and know what he is supposed to do to turn things around into his favor. On the other hand, though, he also has the ability to seemingly just sense when danger is near and bring himself to it. It is unclear where this power came from, as it doesn't seem to tie into wisdom very well. Up next, fire powers. Alright, so we mentioned before that Shazam's freeze breath seems like it was simply a riff on Superman's similar power. However, during the Darkseid War, Shazam gained a breath power that Superman could only dream of having. You see, the H in Shazam now belonged to Huronmir, a notable Martian god. Now on Mars, the end of life is symbolized through fire, which is why flames are the only weakness of the Martian Manhunter, the last survivor of Mars. Therefore, Huronmir gave Shazam fire powers. He can shoot fire from his hands, but he also has fire breath. Let's see Superman do that without red kryptonite. And at number 1, Hypnosis. Alright, so in the world of superheroes, it appears as though hypnosis is likely the one power that seems to be the most plucked out of thin air. For instance, what about Superman suggests that he would be able to perform super hypnosis, and yet he does, and so Shazam did as well. In one notable story arc, Shazam's friend and fellow superhero, Spy Smasher, was brainwashed into fighting against his friend. Shazam used his hypnotic powers to overrule Spy Smasher's conditioning and bring him back to normal. This is one of his powers that does not seem to have lasted into the modern era.
Nah, I was just seeing if you were paying attention.
Shazam!
There you have it. These are just some of the powers Shazam possesses that only hardcore fans actually know about. And did we miss anything? Because if we did, let us know in the comments below. If you haven't already liked our page, you can like and share our video. And if you did like what you saw, you can always check out more awesome content on our page. I'm Andrew Caravella. You can follow me on social media, handle OnAirAndrew. And as always, thanks for watching.